Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back into the video from 6. We've got a Dragon Ball related video, and it's called God Key Sucks, and I'll prove it. So, see what he has to say. Make sure you check out my Etsy shop and support the Patreon. Links are in the description.
In 2013, with the release of Dragon Ball Battle of Gods, Dragon
Mate, as soon as that was announced, it was like, Dragon Ball's coming back. I was so hyped. I was just kind of like, Dragon Ball's still around, cool, but at the time, whoa.
Ball was finally back after more than a decade-long break,
Absolutely awesome.
and even more importantly, it was back in Akira Toriyama's hands. This movie debuted a new part of the Ki power system, that being God Ki, and it propelled Goku into a new realm of power. The source for this has sort of changed over the course of the 3 different canons it came across, but Goku says that not even a fusion of him and Vegeta would be enough to take down Beerus, and he needed to unlock Super Saiyan God. The super exciting guide says the Potara is more like a multiplicative amp, meaning that it's fighter times fighter rather than fighter plus fighter. And since he and Vegeta are rivals, they get a boost as well, which turns Vegito into the perfect fighter. I'm going to lowball.
Sorry, something got stuck in my sock, and I had to take my sock off to get it out. Anyway, right, back to this.
All this to its absolute maximum and use Frieza Saga power level, since that's the last time we got numbers.
Right.
But even assuming Goku never surpassed the 150 million he was at on Namek, and Vegeta only ever caught up to that and never surpassed it, it would mean that Super Saiyan God at its bare minimum is an over 150 million times multiplier to your power level.
Damn.
And remember, I am lowballing to the utmost here.
Go.
The true quantification for the multiplier is probably somewhere in the tens of billions.
Jesus.
Anyway, you can see how maintaining this level of an amp would be extremely difficult going forward. This kind of stays consistent in Resurrection F, or I guess saying it stays consistent is sort of a stretch, but there isn't anything to specifically contradict the amp.
Yeah, it's not like it's completely way out there. Like, Frieza doesn't come in and he's like this almighty, like, bang. It's like he's pretty much on par, isn't he? Like, and then, yeah.
Since Frieza also debuts a new form to fight with Goku, and no one can contend with Frieza on Earth even when he's only in his first form. It is kind of crazy that Frieza can swap hands with Saiyan Beyond God Goku after training for only 4 months, but hey, whatever, man. He's a prodigy. We'll get into that stuff a little bit later.
Well, I mean, his newest form, Jesus Christ, he trained for like, years, and now he's just like pretty much invincible.
This obviously had to change, and with Battle of Gods being redone in another format, you'd think that they'd make those changes, but they don't. The same statement is repeated inside of the Dragon Ball Super anime. But since the anime continues farther and past those points that the movies do, tons of other issues arise from an amp like this being present throughout the series. Krillin, Android 17, Android 18, Gohan, Broly, Frieza, Tournament of Power characters, Gamma 1, 2, Cell Max, Goten, Trunks, the Universe 6 Saiyans, and I can go on and on. Almost everyone surpasses this level of power without obtaining God Ki, which
yeah,
is just one point as to how God Ki sucks.
Oh my god.
I'll go over some of the pros of God Ki, but I mean, from the title and thumbnail, my take on this is already pretty clear. And I think for the most part, it sucks, and I'm gonna prove it with this video. Before we get started, I'd like to ask if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, as I'd really appreciate it. To establish and prove why God Ki sucks, I think one of the more major points to bring to the table is just how useless it is. So let's go through all the pros of God Ki, and then we'll get into the list of cons as well. I want to say as well, while going over the pros, I'd like to give alternatives that I think would either make the story less contrived or would benefit the story in a way that is either consistent or more concise. So for the pros, we have an obvious big increase in strength. This I feel is God Ki's best pro, because Dragon Ball has already shown us a consistency for getting stronger through transforming your body, and especially so for Saiyans. Might I add though that having a completely different ki type in this transformation was not needed, and in hindsight wasn't all that useful either. Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue never do anything super godly or even really come off that way due to their simplistic designs and lack of changing Goku's personality.
Yeah, I suppose it's literally just layer another color on the hair and
anyway, like Ultra Instinct or Ultra Ego seem to do. And Blue was pretty much gotten off screen, so it's not like a connection to
yeah,
the
that was
form
weird
from
as
the
well.
audience could be built by watching Goku obtain it or anything like that. Goku says that God Ki opens up a whole new world of power for him, but as we see after he absorbs the power into his Super Saiyan and then ascends past that level in base, God Ki isn't needed for that. I actually would have been perfectly fine if Goku could have never tapped into God Ki again and instead just used his Super Saiyan forms with his new amped up power that he had
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool actually. Like it was a one-off transformation, and then use that to like create something else.
obtained. If they were really wanting to bring God Ki back into the story, they should have done it with Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego way
Yeah,
later
definitely.
on. That would have boosted both of those forms' spots in the narrative and led to more hype for them overall. Although I guess since Ultra Instinct is one of the most like popular things in anime, I'm not sure that was all too needed. Speaking of Ultra Instinct though, another pro of God Ki is that form.
Yeah,
I'm only giving this a pass because this form actually does make Goku seem pretty godly and elegant when he fights.
that form definitely does. The way it works and the way it's hyped up and everything does give it a kind of like godly kind of presence.
Especially so in the manga version of Dragon Ball Super. Ultra Ego is also another pro for God Ki, considering I like the way it changes things up from the Super Saiyan forms, and a Destruction God should probably use Destruction Energy and get stronger from it, although I do still have one problem with this form that I'll mention later.
Okay.
Last pro I can think of is the fact that there is a lack of ki detection, but I don't think that matters since it supposedly emits this insane pressure and people can gauge your strength through it. Although the only evidence for that is Piccolo says Goku is stronger in blue than he was before, so he's either sensing the pressure God Ki emits, or he's saying that because Goku is beating up somebody that could beat up Blue Goku from the last time Piccolo saw him,
Then he's
who I
stronger.
guess he'd have to gauge his strength off of the guy Goku fought then, since he can't sense God Ki. Whatever, you get the picture.
Yeah.
Now, to offer situations in which I think these pros can be turned around into either things that better suit the story or just seem way less contrived, getting back into the strength boost area, since I already kind of started talking about it anyway, like I said, God Ki doesn't need to be introduced for Goku to get massively stronger. If Goku is going to get a new form anyway, why not just have it be a new form with higher ki than the last one, because functionally that's exactly what it does.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from a form being special, since it can still require the same 5 Saiyan ritual to unlock. Since this is still normal ki, it would just be presented as being a higher level. Anyone else catching up to this level would then be less contrived, since they also possess the same thing in the same type of ki. I also want to mention that Beerus does not have to be as much stronger than everyone else as he was in the current story. We've seen people who are less than 40% stronger than other characters in Dragon Ball, like Vegeta and Kui, absolutely demolish the other person. Beerus doesn't have to be tens of billions of times stronger than Goku, and this is especially the case when we find out later that Beerus' training is still incomplete by Whis, the guy who literally trains him.
Yeah.
And that the level he's at is never mentioned. So you could have Beerus gradually progress and
getting
stay
stronger
way
as he's
stronger
going
than
along.
Goku
Yeah.
and Vegeta that way. And since Frieza and
Yeah, instead of from the very beginning being like it's an unattainable level that Beerus is at, like you just can't ever get there, no matter how far off. You know, that would be cool if Beerus progressed as they did.
Gohan are super mega prodigies, Beerus, who is the literal god of destruction, being a prodigy is something that literally everyone can accept, especially since it already kind of seems like he's kind of lazy and doesn't do much training to begin with. Battle of Gods was made without the thought of continuing in mind, so I sort of gave that a mental pass.
Yeah, you can kind of get that, can't you? Like I think it was meant to be just a one-off, and then it's like, ooh, money.
But then Dragon Ball Super was made with the thought of being a full-fledged series, and I realized that they do make it up as they go, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But Toei and Toyotomi,
Because Dragon Ball Z was very much like make it up as you go along anyway, weren't it? Like the whole Cell Saga thing is like, here are my villains, we don't like them. Here are the replacement villains. Don't like them. Here's another replacement villain. Don't like it. He's got another form. Don't like it. He's got a final form. Okay.
Aro aren't good at it, so they shouldn't do that. I know that a lot of this is a power scaling issue, and some people don't too much care about that, but I do. It's a shonen battle anime, and people fight each other.
Yes.
The power scaling is going to be an aspect of that, and the writers of the series need to be aware of it.
Yes.
Battle of Gods even plays with the idea I'm talking about with Goku not getting God Ki by having him mess up the ritual at first and saying his power just got massively higher in his Super Saiyan form. So, to quickly wrap up this little section, Beerus should have been made weaker, and Super Saiyan God could have been a normal Ki form with a smaller amp.
Yeah.
I want to make myself really clear here, just real quick, so that no one can misconstrue what I'm saying or twist my words in the comments. I'm not saying God Ki can't exist or that it shouldn't exist. I'm saying that they did it and they did it wrong.
Yeah, they should have done something different with it.
Even on the second chance they got to correct it with Dragon Ball Super. I also want to quickly respond to the argument that the Earthlings always had more potential anyway than Goku, since I think it's really a non-argument in response to what I'm saying here, and I will elaborate on that a little bit later.
Okay.
You can draw some consistency for this argument, since Goku trained with Kami for 3 years and was still far weaker than Raditz, but then the Earthlings trained with Kami for 1/3 of that same time, and all got results that were way better than Goku.
Oh my god, that's so true. Ha!
Since they were all stronger
Whoa.
than Raditz. Then Goku trains with King Kai for 158 days, and according to King Kai, it's similar to training for thousands of years back on Earth. But Goku only gets a power level of 8,000, but
Okay.
Piccolo, who arrives with a power level of 3,500, at least according to Weekly Shonen Jump, with King Kai, training for a little more than a week, comes back with a power level of
God.
somewhere between 200,000 to maybe upwards of
These are some mad examples, because he's not wrong, is he? They do have more potential than Goku when you use these examples. They get stronger a lot quicker and more powerful quicker than Goku does in these training situations. Damn.
318,000. The reason we know this is that El Manga Legendario states Piccolo's merger with Nail was at 5 times amp, and we know that Frieza's power level is either 1 million or 1,519,000. Since a lot of guides say that Frieza is at 1 million, but Piccolo says his power multiplied by several times in the anime. And if it was 530,000 before, then obviously it would go to 1,519,000 because several means more than 2 but not many, so at the bare minimum 3. Obviously, if Piccolo can match Frieza with weights on, then he'd probably be stronger than this, but it doesn't matter. We'll just use the Frieza numbers as safe lowballs.
Okay.
1 million divided by 5 is 200,000, and 1,519,000 divided by 5 is 318,000. So maybe it is consistent that people have higher potential than Goku, with the alternate interpretation would just be that as your power grows, so does your potential. Krillin and Gohan both get way stronger after Guru unlocks their latent power, so it maybe does have some merit to it that as your power grows, your limits also grow.
Okay.
I know some people don't think Guru unlocks all your latent power due to Elder Kai's ritual on Gohan, but the Daizenshu actually does confirm that Guru does bring out your latent power,
Right.
and then says that when Elder Kai does it, he makes that latent power go beyond its limits. But regardless, the Earthlings and Piccolo having higher potential than Goku doesn't make the difference between tens of billions of times stronger any less ridiculous. The things I've mentioned thus far are like a 5 times difference to its utmost with Piccolo, some higher number I don't care to look into. Even highballing it is probably somewhere around 5,000, and that might even be too much of a highball. Doesn't matter. But between that to tens of billions, and if anything, Goku's training in the Cell Arc Hyperbolic Time Chamber, or Room of Spirit and Time, proves he has the highest potential and best training methods, since none of the other fighters can catch up to him. We even get confirmation that the Supreme Kai is around the same level as Goku from the Cell Arc, and is stronger than Piccolo 7 years later, who admits to not slacking on his training for those 7 years. So even after 2 trips into the Hyperbolic Time Chamber and 7 years of training, he couldn't catch up to Goku, who came out of the time chamber early and went into the time chamber weaker than Piccolo was when he went in. Ultra Instinct being God Ki is fine, I guess. I don't really have a big problem with it since it is a technique of the gods or whatever. This problem I have with Ultra Ego is sort of going to be me precogging the Dragon Ball Super anime and its inevitable return.
Okay.
In the anime...
It does need to come back, doesn't it? It does need to come back, man. Like, the movie did well. The manga's got such really interesting stuff going on with Frieza and that. Ugh, come back already.
Goku and Frieza both control Hakai energy with normal ki. And that's kind of weird since normal ki can just like sort of overpower it. But I'll be fair and say that this was just a small amount from a seemingly weak god of destruction. However, in the exact same arc that Ultra Ego is introduced, Granola starts using a move that's exactly like Hakai, but just with normal ki.
Okay.
So like, it's kind of just ridiculous that they'd make the decision to introduce a bootleg that's almost the same as the original while giving Vegeta a form that uses that same energy.
Okay. Yeah.
Then we have the lack of ki detection, which could have been great if they just didn't add the pressure that God Ki emits. It would make it to where Goku's opponents have to constantly keep their eyes on him when they fight him instead of just sensing where he's at. At least the opponents who, can't sense God Ki, like Jiren or somebody. Now we get into the cons of God Ki, and as short as the pros list was, the cons list is even shorter. But I think the cons just sort of slam the pros out anyway. God Ki is useless and normal ki just seems to be better. I'm going to touch on the latter
interesting
option here first, since I already sort of ranted about how useless God Ki was throughout the video. Now, I made this list before, but let's get into it and go over it again. Krillin, Android 17, Android 18, Piccolo, Gohan, Broly, Frieza, a few Tournament of Power characters, Gamma 1 and 2, Cell Max, Goten, Trunks, the Universe 6 Saiyans, Granola, and Gas all surpass God Ki levels without having to use God Ki.
Wow.
I even talked about how Granola can use God Ki like techniques, but just with his regular own ki. Why is it that all of these people can surpass Goku from the Battle of Gods arc when Goku was already one of the strongest people on the planet before he got potentially tens of billions of times stronger in order to fight Beerus? The answer to this, or to most of this, is what I like to call the prodigy problem. Everyone and their mom is a prodigy in Dragon Ball now.
It's true. It's true.
I'd be willing to bet my entire YouTube check that if Bulma put on a pair of boxing gloves tomorrow and started training, she'd be Vegeta level within a few weeks, and the justification would be that Bulma was always a prodigy this entire time.
Okay.
Gohan, Broly, Goten, Trunks, Android 17, and Frieza are all stated to be prodigies in some way or another. To explain how they got so strong, Goku says that Android 17 doesn't do much of anything, yet he's just that strong.
Wow.
Goten and Trunks goof off and play around and play superhero at times or go to school, but they can land hits on Cell Max. Frieza can train for 4 months and surpass all of Goku's training. If you give him 10 years, he can one-shot true Ultra Instinct Goku and Ultra Ego Vegeta, along with the strongest guy in the universe at their constant power leaps, just very casually. How on earth do you justify Frieza being taken down after he does something like this?
What are you gonna
Goku and Vegeta can't train for 10 years in return because they're nowhere near as much of a prodigy as Frieza is. So they're going to have to train for 50 years or do fusion or something in order to...
It is going to be interesting to see how they get around this whole thing with Frieza.
Take him down. But even then, I'm not even entirely convinced that that would work. Frieza just training mentally for more than a year allowed him to get over 10 times stronger as a low ball, since Goku surpasses his Kaioken times 10 self from the first fight with Hit and his second fight with Hit in just his blue form. Then he and Frieza both tie after Frieza is revived, having done no physical training and only mentally honing himself. Frieza's potential, I'll give them this series, does seem to keep very consistent inside of Dragon Ball Super. They don't seem to be backtracking on him having some of the highest potential and being one of the best prodigies ever. So I'll give them a little bit of a pass on that they're keeping it consistent. Broly kind of gets a pass here as well, since he isn't that strong with no consequence. He has the chance of slipping and losing his sense of self, but that can only go so far. I mean, he was already starting to keep up with base Vegeta while he was also in base, meaning that he can get that strong without losing himself. Gohan has that narrative of being a prodigy, which is cool and all, so I guess I'll just leave it alone. But I don't know. Something about it, even though it's always extremely cool seeing Gohan fight, it doesn't seem right that he'd unlock this beast transformation. I don't know, maybe I just need a bit more explanation on it. And I mean, maybe it gives further credence to the earlier argument about your potential rising the more your power level does, and he didn't have the potential to unlock this form beforehand. But anyway, that's the prodigy problem. We have way too many prodigies, and not to mention Goku and Vegeta have also been called prodigies before. Gamma 1, 2, and Cell Max are made by Dr. Hito, who is a descendant of Dr. Gero, who, at least according to Dragon Ball Super, his androids have the potential to get up to Super Saiyan Blue levels of power, so I don't know, maybe this is just consistent. However, it's only consistent with Super. How do you even put together parts that make it so these androids are this strong anyway? I don't know, that may be kind of a nitpick, but whatever, it still feels super artificial. Granola and Gas might be one of the most painful examples of this because Goku and Vegeta have God Ki, and Beerus even comments that Goku has now become a god, yet the wish that excludes the gods when becoming the strongest in the universe doesn't exclude Goku and Vegeta. So just a simple wish on 2-star Dragon Balls on a planet in the middle of nowhere let them surpass Goku and Vegeta's god forms. They aren't prodigies, they weren't made by super smart scientists, and they didn't train for thousands of years. They just made a wish to get this strong. I guess, man, yeah, that's really cool. And I don't care if Granola had to sacrifice some of his life force to get the power up, because everyone else surpasses Granola anyway, and he effectively did this for nothing. Granola wanted to be stronger than Frieza, so he made the wish, then Goku surpassed him, Vegeta surpassed him, Gas surpassed him, and Frieza wasn't even in the universe when he made the wish, so it didn't matter anyway. So since you don't have to train with gods or do weird rituals to get stronger than God Ki users with normal Ki, it does seem like God Ki is just worse than normal Ki to me. It also means that everyone I listed, outside of the androids made by people, excluding Android 17, or the people who made wishes, had higher potential than Goku the entire time. Being real, I don't even know how Android 17 and 18 get stronger. They can't get weaker since they have unlimited Ki and stamina.
Yeah, they don't run out.
How do they train and get stronger? Just raising their output? It would be nice to get an answer to questions like this, but 17 does nothing anyway and he's just as strong as Goku, so whatever. This uselessness of God Ki can't be overstated. Not only does none of the forms have to be God Ki like I mentioned earlier, it almost makes the narrative more consistent, less contrived, and more believable that other characters can reach these heights. Goku and Vegeta are excluded from Granola's wish, and only the gods have God Ki if those forms didn't have God Ki. In the end, I guess this better serves as a reason to why Super Saiyan Blue and Super Saiyan God suck, but I would have left it there if the Granola arc didn't happen.
Right.
I'm not including the other universe characters when talking about this, by the way, since they are all from different universes and we knew nothing about them before they were introduced, so there really isn't that big of an issue with it. Base Kaba being base Vegeta level is a bit weird at face value, but it's not like it's nothing that can't be explained by simple headcanon. Pretty simply just saying that the Universe 6 Saiyan's evolution was just that strong. That's pretty much it for the video though. Like I mentioned towards the middle, I'm not saying God Ki shouldn't exist. I'm just saying it was done incorrectly and should have been done better. So, like I said, God Ki sucks. If you liked the video, obviously leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel. But other than that, Have a nice day.
Wow, what an interesting video. Some really interesting points that I never thought of. And that whole thing about everyone having more potential than Goku when training during Z was just like, never really thought about that. But yeah, he's right. God Ki, it's they should have just done a different concept with it. Really, it works with Ultra Ego and it works with Ultra Instinct, but everything else is a bit, a bit weird. Make sure you check out my Etsy shop. Links in the description for t-shirts and hoodies that I've designed. And thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video I upload, link in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month / split chance. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys for that. And thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. I'll see you guys where it goes next time.